Electricity generation companies, GenCos, operating in Nigeria have demanded a settlement of debts owed by the federal government, noting that otherwise prevailing situation could lead to complete shutdown of power sector in the country. The power generators also urged the federal government to institute a repayment plan backed by security guarantees from the World Bank or African Development Bank, AFDB. In a statement in Abuja signed by Chairman Board of Trustees of Power Generation Companies, Colonel Sani Bello, retired, the generation company said that that the backlog owed them are in two folds, 2 trillion owed in 2024 and 1.9 trillion owed in legacy debts. But this day recalls that out of a huge debt, the federal government said that it had paid 205 billion, citing the need to raise the level of liquidity in the power sector at the time. So joining us to discuss the demand by the electricity GenCos is Dr. Fordale Olarewaju Mohammed Noah, energy law expert and electricity rights advocate. Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good morning.
How do we navigate through this? And we need power, sir.
Permit me to forward this way. 40 years ago, electricity has been on ICU. We have been, as an economy, power sector in Nigeria has been on ICU for the past 40 years. In fact, it was abandoned there. It was recently that we wanted to make a difference, and it will take time. So the threat that the system will be shut down amounts to nothing, because if it is going to shut down, it won't tell anybody. There is no need for threat. It will just shut down. We plan for this. Let me put it this way. There is a security dimension to this product. Over the time, development scholars have identified 4 areas of security where we have, to each of these areas, security dimension. 1, human security. We have food security. We have energy security. The last one is electricity security. You agree with me that all these areas we are lacking behind. And in fact, as of 2014, the World Bank has put up a research report on Nigeria, talking about what are those obstacles to business in Nigeria. The first 3 are: 1, access to finance. The second one is power. Even corruption was lagging behind. While access to finance takes 30% in percentage, power sector itself takes 27%. Corruption itself is just 13%. Those are the big obstacles we have to sustainability of business in Nigeria. So if we refuse to solve this problem, we'll still be having what we are having. And there is no need for threat of shutdown. It will shut down itself.
Oh, okay. Before we get to shut down itself, how do we balance this issue? The GenCos are saying we are owed money. We need money to operate, to generate lights. We know that a lot of this money is owed by the government, not this current government alone. Over time, we commend this government actually because they've made efforts to actually make some payments, but the amount is so overwhelming that it can't be done overnight. That's on a government level. On an individual level, they're saying that the tariff has to go up so it can be reflective of their cost and so forth. The average citizen is struggling to pay their electricity. Not even the average citizen. The deputy governor of Lagos yesterday made a point. He said his bill was 2.7 million naira. It's now 29 million naira. How will he pay 20 naira? If the deputy governor is complaining about the price, the cost of his electricity, what more just you and I? So where do we strike the balance? Because the GenCos need money, but we cannot pay. What happens?
The deputy governor that said what he said on Monday in VI here, when they were talking about Rural Electrification Agency, collaboration with Lagos State, is just representing the entire people in Band A. I had a matter last week, on Monday last week, in Ibadan. So where I lodged, they complained about the same thing of Ibadan Disco. The company was talking, and we are talking, they fall within the special classification customer. We are talking about educational system. Their power bill was, as at February, was 1.5 million. So this March, they were to pay this March. They were on postpaid customer billing. They were told to pay 7 million. Tariff cannot solve the problem we have in the power sector. No. First of all, electricity thrives as a product on large scale. We are poor in electricity. There is this rule of thumb: for each 1 million people, we have 1,000 megawatt. 1 million people, 1,000 megawatt. For a lifeline business, you must have in a country 1 million people. For you to sustain the development of that country, you need minimum of 1,000 megawatt. So let's come to Lagos State, 25 million people. It means that we need 25,000 megawatt. And a whole country, for the past 40 years, they are still struggling to have 6,000 megawatt. So even if tariff is fixed at 1,000 per kilowatt, we won't have electricity. We won't have it. The problem is not tariff. They continue to tell us that we need more money, we need more money. Yes, electricity as a product requires a lot of funding and investment, yes. But one important factor that is missing in this area has to do with lawlessness in the system across the board, even from the government. Let me now go back. We have missed the fundamentals. Section 4 of the Constitution has outlined the functions of each level of government, whether federal or state. Item F, Part 2, second schedule to the 1999 Constitution, paragraph 13, 14, 15, has outlined those functions of each level of government. Where as far as the concept of electricity is concerned in Nigeria, we got it right. But the implementation is wrongly applied. There is no business. The federal government has no business managing the distribution side of the power value chain. I'm not the one that said it. It is the Constitution. The Constitution said that the state government has the exclusive preserve of the distribution side of the power value chain. And when we are talking about distribution side of the power value chain, we are talking about those power lines, like the 415 volt, 11 kV line, 33 kV line. Those three lines belong exclusively to the state. Even the 132 kV is still under transmission line. Because when we are talking about lines, whether transmission or distribution, what determines lines as to whether it is transmission or distribution has to do with the load capacity of the volt. So for transmission line, any load weight of electricity that is not below 200 kilovolt can be transmission line. Like we have the 330 kV line. That's transmission line. 132 kV line is sub-transmission line. So the state governments must take care of that level. You cannot Bluetooth electricity as a product. It goes through lines, whether underground or overground. And you can find that in those localities where customers are served.
Okay. Let's talk about money, because everything rise and fall with money.
I agree.
The power minister said $30 billion. If we had that money today and it's not corruptly taken away, at least we'll see some changes. Where are we with the Siemens deal for distribution lines? Where are we with the allegations of PDP invested $16 billion? Dollars. Where are we? And why I ask this question is, what's going to be the future? Is it going to be this walk around disaster that we've continued? There's a newspaper cutting that went viral sometime as of 1983 that says by January 1st, 1983, I think it was President Buhari, military head of state Buhari then, that was saying we'll have uninterrupted power supply. 1983. By 2025, 42 years ago. In fact, it looked like things were better in the 60s than it is now. So, and the 70s. So, where are we?
You know what?
Yes.
The more we have population growth at that level of 2.38 or 2.4 growth rate, the amount of energy we are having will still continue to be lacking.
So based on your analysis now, you are saying Nigeria should have over 200,000 megawatts of power.
Just use this scale. 1 million people
to
1,000 megawatts so, minimum.
So and today we have not even, we can't even, I'm not sure we have done 10,000 megawatts successfully.
10? No, we can't. Why?
5.
We are just roaming around. Oh, okay, they have even celebrated 6,000 megawatts.
6,000, okay.
Funny enough. No,
we have installed capacity of close to 20,000.
No.
Okay.
Around 13,000.
13,000 installed
capacity.
Okay.
But they cannot wheel it out. Because the transmission line, electricity as a product, you can't store it conveniently. You can only do balancing. As you are producing it, you must supply it. In fact, part of the features of grid collapse is when you supply electricity and there's no one to take it. We have distribution companies that are not taking it. They reject electricity because they cannot pay for it. So the problem is not money. And I have just given you that picture. The more population we have, the more need for energy.
But we need money to be able to create that more.
So the money now, okay,
yes. So we need money now.
If I said it here before, if you use the entire budget of the Federation, it won't do anything.
Yes.
It won't do anything.
I like the point that you made when you were focusing on the states. And when the Electricity Act 2023 was signed, we all jubilated because we felt that at least the states will take ownership. And by now, we know it's not an overnight thing. But by now, we expected to at least start seeing some form of results. Yes, 1 or 2 states are saying that there's progress. Why do you think the states are so reluctant to take on this responsibility?
Nigerians don't believe in work. You are talking about governance. The perception of going into power is just to make something.
No, but with due respect, Lagos State has started. Lagos State has created an electricity
Yes,
market.
they have started.
So,
but on a broad scale, we're not seeing.
It can. Yes, it will work slowly, and you know why? They are still in transition. Yes, Lagos State has kickstarted its own electricity market. That market cannot come on board for one reason. One, we have an existing license that had been extended from 2023 to 2028. So we have that gestation period, 3 years. Lagos State cannot do anything side by side with that existing license. The entity that controls that license is NEC.
Which license is that?
Disco, distribution licenses. Where Eco Disco here and Ikeja Disco, they operate in Lagos State. So Lagos State cannot control them because existing license they are using will only expire in 2028. And by the Lagos State electricity law, they have assumed that license as if they were the one that gave it. So they will still be running it. And that's why the discos are doing what they are doing.
What are they doing?
What they are doing is that they were under the guise of estimated billing. That is exactly what, and they did it to the second citizen of Lagos now, from 2.7 million to 29 million.
They didn't do it to the second thing. They did it to the treasury of Lagos.
Okay, thank you.
It's not the
And
one
what
that
I mean is that
he,
at least he claimed that he's the one using the house. I agree with you. So you can see the dilemma of a state now. The state itself is at the mercy of the operators.
But it's not the first time. They've been cutting light in Aso Rock and other parts from time immemorial. Government parastatal, they don't pay their bills. It's not today now that the government parastatal don't pay their bills. So what's the big deal about
Maybe the government parastatals we will be talking about are the federal parastatals.
The
state, they did it to El Rufai when he was governor in Kaduna maybe 3 years ago.
So I'm just saying is this here. So what are the solutions?
The solution is this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Money is investors. Money will bring investors. Investors will bring money.
Definitely.
So money, what kind of money?
Rural
electrification for the lower cadre. Then
a foremost professor in this field, Professor Yemi Oke has said that right from my school days, that rural electrification agency is an anathema. It should be left with the state governments rather than, because it's essentially off grid. And I agree. So let's deal with the structural misalignment. The state, if yes, given there is need for investment in the system, no doubt.
How much money?
In fact, a professor of economics, Professor Adenikiji, 5 years back said $265 billion. Not even $30 billion.
No, it's for a year.
Easy for a year. We need the state, each state, 36 state governors, as a government, to invest to its own side of the power value chain. Let's start. There is a stage of development in the power sector. We have incremental power. We need power at all costs. At all costs. Then, before we get to the level of stable supply of electricity, before we now go to the last stage of uninterrupted supply of electricity.
Lagos tried having something called Aaron then. What happened to that?
You know why? If this president was aware of item F, paragraph 13, 14, 15 of second schedule to the 1999 Constitution, he would have fought it conveniently.
Okay. Last week, the Ministry of Power celebrated the prepaid meters that they are hoping to distribute. I mean, it was circulated in the news as a massive achievement. Your take, are we funneling our energy into the wrong things? Because the prepaid meters, granted, we've seen how much controversy they've also caused, because we know that some of the spats of violence that happened when they were trying to install these prepaid meters into some of the, was it the army or the military barracks, and they were beaten and so forth, because they feel that maybe this is a golden solution. If we are on prepaid meters, that can balance out liquidity. What's your take? Are we putting our energy in the right place?
For each part of the power sector, there is huge problem. You talk about meter now. It's not new. We have a national mass metering program that has started as far as 2020. So what the present minister is doing is not new. And let me quickly say this as to meter. As of 2013, when the distribution side of power valuation was privatized, part of the promise of the operators was that they would supply meter. Yes, it's part of the agreement. In 2014, they reneged, citing excuses that there was no liquidity in the system. You know what the government did as a policy under the former president, Jonathan? There was what they call CAPME, Credit Advance Payment Military Initiative, that if you pay as a customer, the money you pay to deploy that meter will be given in return in form of credit of electricity. That one also failed. So that was what led to MAP, Meter Asset Provider Regulation of 2018, under the former super minister. I'm talking about Raji Fashola. So MAP regulation also failed. You know why these things are failing? There is indiscipline in the system. We don't want to follow the rules of the game. And now we are now in NMP, that is National Mass Monitoring Program that is going on. So the discourse ordinarily don't want meter, so that they can justify estimated billing.
Somebody said it's a Nigerian lie that you cannot store electricity. You can. Electricity is stored on national grid inverters in China, Japan, USA, and the global north. That's what somebody is saying. So somebody is saying I should also ask you that this band A, band B is a scam. These exact words, we're not the get lights. What's your take on that?
Thank you. Let me quickly mention, I said difficult. It will be difficult to store. In fact, you are storing, that's why you have inverters. But it's difficult to store. So that one settles that. Talking about this band A, we have what we call cross-subsidization of electricity. It's in the present act. What it means is that some customers who appear well-to-do will carry the burden of other customers. And that's why we have band A paying 209 naira 50 kobo. I am in band B, I pay 64 naira 9 kobo, thereabout. But as I said, tariff is just one simple problem there that can be easily solved. The tariff is that as of 2010, we were paying 8 naira 50 kobo. From that 8 naira 50 kobo, it jumped as of 2010 to 22 naira. And you have said it that the more years we go, the less light we have.
So do you think all this band A, band B, yes, you said tariff is a small part of our problem. Do you think it has solved any problems at all? Because we're talking liquidity.
No, they thought that it will solve, but I am saying that it won't solve.
Hear this idea quickly.
Okay.
Somebody said from Turkey, Turkish government surveyed all locations that could support solar, advertised for interested participants, then based on the power size each could generate, they assigned licenses for location. Each location could be connected to the national grid when completed. It will be responsible for each licenses to guard, maintain, service the location in perpetuity. However, the government purchased the power supply based on the metering reading, and the government also had development banks led interested suppliers at a single-digit interest rate. Result, in 1 year, solar supply went from 1K megawatts to 16,000 megawatts. Can we do that here?
Nothing is impossible if we follow the rules of the game. All what you are talking about, if we follow it, if we follow the rules, we will get it. And that's how is it going to be possible? It will be possible if it is decentralized. Each state continue to deal with the investment. So if we have investment simultaneously for 36 states, one man at the center cannot beat what 36 governors will achieve if they are going to do what is right.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Really appreciate
you
for being here and throwing more light on the issue.